Senator McCain's economic policy and position changing more in the last 4 days than in his last 2 decades in Washington. On Monday, he said we cannot have the taxpayers bail out AIG or anybody else. Then on Wednesday, his chance changed to the government was forced to commit $85 billion to stop the collapse of AIG. And finally, today he decided that when AIG was bailed out, I didn't like it, but I understood it needed to be done. In March, McCain was, quote, always for less regulation, fundamentally a deregulator. Now he says regulators were asleep at the switch. In 1989, McCain, along with the fellow Republicans, voted against the bill that created the Resolution Trust Corporation, the RTC. In March, his policy advisor, Douglas the Blackberry Holtz-Eakin, said, quote, the senator is not in favor of an RTC-like vehicle. Today, McCain says not only did the RTC work, but he wants to add to the alphabet soup with a mortgage and financial institutions trust, the MFI. I'm joined now by Democratic strategist Chris Kofinas, former communications director on the Edwards campaign. Thanks again for your time tonight, Chris.
Thanks, Keith.
All right, so it's like 12 after the hour. Any idea what McCain's economic policy actually is at this minute?
I actually kind of do. I think it's pretty simple. It's basically more tax cuts for the rich and for corporations, increasing the deficit by trillions of dollars, and more deregulation. Basically, it's a Molotov cocktail of bad Bush policies that are going to probably further blow up the economy worse than we've seen the last 8 years. And it kind of begs, I think what is going to be the central question maybe in a lot of voters' minds, especially in light of what happened on Monday, and that is, are you better off than you were 4 or 8 years ago? And I think the answer to that question pretty resoundingly is no, we're not better off. And so then I think voters have to ask themselves a very serious question. Why would anyone think they're going to be better off 4 years from now if you're going to put somebody in office like a John McCain who's going to follow the same type of policies like George Bush? It doesn't make any logical sense.
The McCain spokesman Tucker Bounds, who's had a bad week, told Fox News today that Senator McCain had laid out this plan to fix the economy on Monday, apparently predicated on this new regulatory agency that starts with the unfortunate sequence of letters MF. Was this week the McCain campaign Waterloo? Did we just see the entire campaign come apart the way, Lehman Brothers did?
Yeah, it's a campaign that's in a strategic free-for-all, and they seem to be not able to figure out what direction they want to go in, what they want to say, what rhetoric they want to agree on. It's actually really stunning, and it really started on Monday. When John McCain went out there and said the economy was structurally sound and fundamentally sound, I don't think it was a slip of the tongue. I actually thought they sat back and thought about it, and that shows you just a tone deafness that is absolutely stunning. I mean, one of the rules in politics is you never reinforce the narrative that your opponent is trying to paint upon you. And when, Barack Obama and the Democrats are trying to say you're out of touch, because clearly you are, the last thing you want to do is go prove that you're out of touch, which is what he did on Monday. So they're in a really bad spot right now, and I think the spiral is going to continue for a while.
Senator McCain has promised more details tomorrow. Do we know what we can expect here? I mean, is it eliminating tax cuts for the wealthy? Is it raising the minimum wage? Is it another acronym, maybe one that stands for a group called Federal Underwriters?
I'm not sure what we're going to expect. I mean, my guess is you're going to hear a lot of tough talk and a lot of rhetoric, but the reality is you're not going to hear anything new. I mean, John McCain is, suffering what I call political split personality. I mean, he was Mr. Deregulator. Now he seems to have become Mr. Populist. I mean, he's changed his tune faster than an investment bank collapse, and it just proves to you that he doesn't have any core convictions. I mean, you'd have more respect for him if he actually believed what he used to believe, but he doesn't. He seems to be reacting every given moment, changing his tune, against the AIG bailout, for the AIG bailout. He just doesn't seem to understand that what the American people want is clarity and determination in terms of what you believe, not just say anything for the sake of winning a vote.
Lastly, Chris, let me go back to that breaking news. First, it was Governor Palin who would not talk to the investigator in the Troopergate case. Now it's her husband who's going to defy the subpoena, according to his statement tonight. The law on this, I'm not clear on. The merits of this for their own protection, I'm not clear on. Their yes or no status on this, I'm not clear on. But it makes no sense to me politically. Why on earth would they drag this out and make it look as bad as they have made it look in just the last 2 days?
You know, it's absolutely stunning. I mean, to basically have blown up something that no one really even knew about and to make it an issue in this campaign because it goes to the heart of what her candidacy supposedly is about, and that she is this maverick reformer that's going to tell you the truth and talk straight. Well, here you have a clear indication, a clear measure that she's not talking straight. She's doing the exact opposite. She's playing political games. It's just it's unbelievable, disastrous move for the McCain campaign for Sarah Palin.
Chris Kofinas, Democratic strategist. As always, Chris, thanks for your time. Have a good night.
Thanks, Keith. You too.
Senator McCain also wandered into the deep brush internationally today. Asked about Spain, he answered about Mexico, then Latin America. Meantime, Governor Palin's international credentials were called an insult to the intelligence of Americans by a Republican senator. And a high-profile McCain-Palin supporter said the Republicans would be much more respectful than would the Democrats to, quote, rednecks, unquote. In the interim, for the third day in a row, starting with Sarah Palin's tanning bed, a McCain camp explanation for some problem or other is causing even more problems than the original problem. In our fourth story tonight, is Spain in Europe? Is Spain in Latin America? Or is Spain in the axis of evil? Campaigning in Florida, Senator McCain spoke with a Spanish-owned, Spanish-language radio station. After several questions about unfriendly leaders in Latin America, the interviewer asked whether McCain would meet with Spanish Prime Minister José Luis Rodríguez Zapatero. McCain has previously said he would, but this time he veered off into a discussion of Mexico. Asked again, McCain promised to seek closer relations with our friends and, quote, stand up to those who want to harm the United States. Was McCain mistaking Zapatero for a Latin American leader? Was he referring to Zapatero's ending Spain's participation in the Iraq War in 2004? The interviewer sought clarification, and as you will hear, McCain then refers to the hemisphere of Latin America.
So you have to wait and see if he's willing to meet with you, or you be able to do it in the White House?
Well, again, I don't. All I can tell you is that I have a clear record of working with leaders in the hemisphere that are friends with us and standing up to those who are not, and that's judged on the basis of the importance of our relationship with Latin America and the entire region.
Okay, what about you? I'm talking about the president of Spain.
What about me, what?
Okay, are you willing to meet with him if you're elected president?
I am willing to meet with any leader who is dedicated to the same principles and philosophy that we are for human rights, democracy, and freedom. And I will stand up to those that do not.
What about me what? The McCain campaign today said there is no doubt Senator McCain knew exactly to whom the question referred, begging the question, as with McCain's Sunni Shiite gaffe, which meaning is worse, the unintended or the intended? One footnote, Zapatero's grandfather fought alongside the communists in the Spanish Civil War. Since the age of 13, McCain has said his greatest hero is the fictional character Robert Jordan from For Whom the Bell Tolls, who fought alongside the communists in the Spanish Civil War, for real. Let's turn now to Steve Clemens, Senior Fellow at the New America Foundation, publisher of thewashingtonnote.com. Mr. Clemens, good evening.
Good evening. Good to be with you, Keith.
A lot of options here. Did he hear not Zapatero, but Viva Zapata, or does he think Spain is in Latin America, or what was going on there?
I listened to this tape about 10 times today, and I think John McCain had his own Sarah Palin moment where it just went by him and he didn't get it. And I think it shows, in one way, what kind of a rut he's in. He really thought he was talking about Latin America, and he wasn't ready to talk about Spain, and I think that's fairly clear from the tape, no matter what his advisors are saying now. But even if his advisors do want to do the story, I think it's still pretty much shafting Spain, an ally of ours.
Is this a common problem with American politicians? Because whatever he meant to say, he intertwined a lot of countries in there that really only have one thing in common, that they tend to speak Spanish a lot. Are they all that difficult to keep straight?
Well, I wouldn't think so. I would think that John McCain, whose strongest suit is supposed to be foreign policy, he talks a lot about the transatlantic relationship. One would think that he knew that Spain was an important ally of ours with troops in Afghanistan, and that with all the problems we're having today in Bolivia, with Hugo Chavez in Venezuela, and the Latin American sphere in general, one of our great allies and helpers in the region has in fact been Spain. So I don't think there's really an easy excuse as to mixing up, Spanish-sounding leaders. I think it's really just a very serious faux pas mistake of John McCain in this.
Yeah, and about that, and about Spain, the McCain campaign said that the one thing clear in here was he was refusing to commit to a meeting with the Prime Minister. First off, that's a flip-flop on his past willingness to meet with the Prime Minister, but also does it not put McCain kind of in lockstep with Bush, who has also refused to meet with Zapatero? I mean, how is McCain, who is billing himself as being there to repair the Bush foreign policy damage, repair it by repeating it?
This may seem silly to many, but it's actually very, very consequential. Spain was one of the sites of one of the largest terror attacks in Europe, Madrid. It was around the time of election, and the former president of Spain, Jose Maria Aznar, has been spending a lot of time in Washington, is very well known in Washington, has met McCain many times. Zapatero came in and has been very responsible in the way Spain managed its alliance with the United States and other issues. And I think that it is very consequential, that transatlantic relationship. It's not only falling in lockstep with the Bush administration. I think it's much worse, because he's kicked a country that's been very, very supportive of us recently and had hopes for him, and kicked it right in the teeth.
Steve Clements, the man behind the foreign policy blog, The Washington Note. It was a confusing story, and we thank you for helping us clear it up.
Good to be with you, Keith.
Thank you, sir.